Brendan, okay, all good. Well, look, it's great to be here with Dr. Joanna Howe, who has made a submission to an inquiry into a private senator's bill that myself, Senator Antic and Senator Babette has introduced into the Parliament. This bill just seeks to provide rights to every Australian in our country, and especially to those Australians who are the most vulnerable. The measure of any society is how you look after the most vulnerable, and there is nothing more vulnerable than a newborn baby. Yet in testimony today and evidence to the Senate, the shocking and tragic situation is that hundreds of babies a year are born in Australia alive from a termination procedure. Those babies are not provided almost any care. In some circumstances they may be provided a level of palliative care, but they're certainly not given the right to life that all of us would expect. I am just simply, and with my fellow colleagues, just simply trying to, number one, highlight this situation. I think a lot of people wouldn't know that in many cases abortion procedures end up with a functioning human life. And in other cases, in some of those cases, that life may be able to be sustained and live and have a full life if provided the appropriate care. Now, we wouldn't do this at any other stage of life. At any other stage of life, our health system, our legal system would protect people's right to life. We do everything we can to try and sustain life. But it only seems to be at the newborn stage where we apply an unequal and ultimately unethical approach to protecting life. So I'm here to try and highlight the issue. Obviously the bill here, and I appreciate everyone who's made submissions to it, has helped do that. Perhaps I'll be pushing for it to have some debate once the inquiry's finished in the Senate chamber. This is an issue where we have liberalised more abortion laws across the country, that we should be tackling the effects of that liberalisation to make sure we do protect the newborn among us. I'll ask Joanna and Alex to say some things, then we'll have some questions.
Thank you, Senator Canavan. So I'm a Professor of Law from the University of Adelaide, and for me this bill is about protecting the human rights of all Australians. So we know that 724 babies have been born alive and left to die without any legal protection in Victoria and Queensland since 2010 to 2020. So that's 724 babies who have fallen through the cracks in our system. Under our criminal law, you are a person from first breath. And yet, in this country, through termination of pregnancy guidelines, we can see, for example, in Queensland, that there's explicitly stated, do not provide life-sustaining treatment if a baby is born alive after an abortion. So there's a couple of myths that I'd like to clear up. One is that babies born alive and left to die doesn't happen. It's rare. It's a non-issue. Now, the data from the Victorian and Queensland government health reports clearly show that 724 babies have been born alive and left to die. We can also see that the coroner's report from the NT into the case of Jessica Jane, she was born and was put on a metal plate for 80 minutes, so an hour and 20 minutes without any medical care, because she was the product of a failed abortion. And the nurse that birthed her was absolutely surprised that she was born alive and didn't know what to do. And so this bill addresses that situation by providing protection for the human rights of those babies. Now, I will call out a myth. I noticed that the submission from Marie Stopes International says that this bill would actually worsen the existing situation and prevent palliative care being given. Marie Stopes has said it would mandate resuscitation. And nothing could be further from the truth. Section 9 of this bill makes it very clear that if a baby is born alive after an abortion, they would either have palliative care given to them or life-saving treatment, whatever is appropriate. And indeed, Section 7 of the South Australian Termination of Pregnancy Act already provides this. So what this bill does is it lifts the standards nationally, because in South Australia and New South Wales we already have protection for these babies, but elsewhere they fall through the cracks. And this bill ensures birth equality in Australia, so that we're not treating one category of human being different to another category. So I thank Senator Canavan, Senator Antic and Senator Babette for introducing this.
Thanks, Joanna.
Yeah, look, thank you to Dr. Howe and to Senator Canavan and to Senator Babette for the support for this bill, and it's great to see so many outstanding submitters here today to talk about this. We heard some extremely harrowing stories. They're really stories that every Australian should be hearing, because this is truly a national scandal, and it is a It's good to see so many of our friends from the Fourth Estate here. Good to see you along, many from the independent media as well. It's just a shame that some of your colleagues don't see the importance on this, and it's a shame there isn't more interest in it, because this is a story you should be telling every single day of the week about the numbers of babies in this country that are simply left to sit after a failed abortion procedure and pass away. It is an absolute scandal, and if anyone wants to hear those stories, please go back and listen to some of the testimony we've heard today. It is appalling stuff. This bill will seek to right that. This bill doesn't seek to interfere with any rights of the mother or really of anybody else. All it does is seek to provide a positive obligation on medical practitioners to provide care to a baby after a failed abortion procedure, and that is a standard which should be afforded to every single human being, regardless of their race, their colour or their creed. So I'm looking forward to getting in and prosecuting this bill further in the Senate, and I look forward to it being supported by all sides of politics in this nation.
Thanks, Alex. Any questions? None? That's always the best. Always the easiest. All good? Okay, cool. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Cheers.